Welcome to the Build a Lifestyle podcast, where we're going to talk about building your lifestyle. We're going to talk about money, family, relationships, health and fitness, spiritual and self-development, and experience. What are you doing for fun? What are we doing to experience this life that we're here to do? So welcome to the show. I'm your host, Michael Burns. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Build a Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Mike Burns. I got my dog in the house today. We got Hailame Kinikini. What's up, bro?
What's poppin', bro? Thanks for having me, dog.
I'm glad we're on the mic, dude. We've been talking about doing it for a little bit, but we've been busy doing deals and shit. So, Hailame, I met Hailame, maybe 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Almost 3 years ago.
Coming up on 3 years ago. Yeah. So I was speaking at an event, a mastermind event, and he was at it. Were you speaking or were you just there?
No, I was just there. Strat had invited me.
Yeah. So my buddy Strat Daddy, at Strat Daddy, he's another buddy from similar groups and masterminds and stuff. But anyways, I came in and spoke and then talked about my lifestyle, mindset stuff like I like to. And then you're there. Hailame's heavy in the Airbnb space and just starting to acquire investments in general. So we met in Salt Lake at this thing. And then same thing I'm preaching to you guys all the time. Build relationships. I followed up with him, connected with him. Hey, bro, what are you doing? And then I found out he's in Utah. Well, I'm in Utah. So we hit a lunch or something after that. And, fast forward 3 years, we're shooting a podcast today. We're doing some deals together. And that's my boy Hailame. So tell him what you're doing right now, dude, because it's been impressive with what you've done in a short period of time.
Love it, bro. Appreciate it, dude. It's crazy to think that it's almost 3 years. Because there's some homies you meet and it's like, man, I feel like I've known you for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
My career started, I think, really informally back in 2018. That's when I bought my first Airbnb. And really at the time, it was just, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, it was just like, I buy one, I move out of it. And then, the one I moved out of, I just rent out, right? But I remember my very first Airbnb, I was like, man, if I can just break even on the rent or on the mortgage, like, it's a win. Then first month I made $2,000 net, and I was like, okay, there's something here. And so I started to slowly but surely get into Airbnb that way. Ended up kind of growing it into a property management company, started managing other people's.
Well, let's do this real quick, dude. I'm going to check you because I know the listeners, they want to know the numbers and should I listen to this guy, should I not? Maybe you know who Hailame is. If you're in the short term rental space or Airbnb, you for sure know who you are. You're speaking on stages and stuff all the time. But let's drop some numbers so you guys understand I'm not bringing some scrubs on the show. we got a baller here, Hailame. So like how many units are you guys managing currently?
So we've got 150.
150 units. Yep. And the majority of that's your guys' stuff,
correct.
Right?
We own the majority of them.
Yeah, so you're not doing a whole lot of third-party management,
correct.
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So 150 units. First deal was basically a house hack in 2018.
Yep.
So 150 units in 4 years, guys. And I like to drop the numbers up front because people want to hear that, right? So now hopefully there's his resume. You guys want to listen to what he has to say. But so let's get back into that, dude. So how do you go from 2018, you're basically buying an owner-occupied property using, a regular mortgage, and then you buy another one, turn that into investment, which is a great strategy, guys. Like if you can do that, they call that house hacking, but you buy a property, ideally live there for a couple of years, or, once you live there for 2 years, then you don't have any tax consequences on that property as long as it's not more than $250,000 for a single person. Or if you're married, you can get up to $500,000 in equity on your house and not pay capital gains. As long as it's your primary residence. So that's basically what Hailame did, got in the game, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Yep. And then I kind of saw the opportunity within it. And just like anybody else, when you first start, you don't have much money. Yeah. Right. And so we just decided to build a really property management company. I got really good at Airbnb specifically. And so I got really good at algorithms, knowing what makes an Airbnb good, pricing strategy, things of that nature. Grew that pretty quickly. We started to see the shift in the market. Airbnb started to dip. And so I was like, well, how can I continue to maintain like cash flow or equity?
When was this? Like what year?
2000. This was in like 2021, 22. Yep.
Okay.
And then once we started to kind of see the market start to dip, then that's when we pivoted hard into creative finance, which was just last year. Mm-hmm. And so,
so how many doors or units did you have under management or that you owned and were operating at that time, like 2021? So from 2018 to 2021, what did that look like?
And it wasn't much. It was like 10. It was like 10 doors, dude. Like it's been a huge hockey stick because of really it was in 2022 that I really started to dive in. I went from pretty much 10 to 50 within a few months. And then that's when we just started rolling. Because remember, that's when we met. Yeah. Because I came to you and I was like, look, I don't know much about real estate. I know Airbnb. And that's when I was growing the management space. Yeah. And we just started scaling that. And then, so really in the span of where I've done this more professionally at the highest level has really been in the last 2 years. And it's crazy to think that. And I forget that I sometimes just like I speed through that part, but I appreciate you slowing me down because really, as I look back on it, I've built most of my wealth in the last 24 months.
Well, dude, that's how it goes. You know, there's that compound effect, but it's like, you know, they say it's real hard to make your first $100,000, right? But that second $100,000, getting the 200 is not nearly as hard as 100 was. Yep. Or like hitting $1 million is real tough, but then hitting that 2 million number is not quite as hard as the first million was. So I think it you know, that's how it goes. But so why did you choose Airbnb?
I get this question a lot, and people I think oftentimes are wanting like life to speak to them. And I feel like people want an answer of like, oh, it spoke to me because of this. The reality of it was the game that was in front of me at the time.
So it was the opportunity.
Yeah, because to me, I was like, what am I already involved in real estate? Airbnbs. I have one. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, because of that, then why don't I just start with where I'm already at, right? And so then I just made the decision I want to get really good at Airbnb specifically. I went deep instead of wide, and that led to a lot of opportunities. I started to network, relationships, started getting contracts with everybody on the management piece. And then that's when really towards the middle of the summer, towards the end of 2022 was when I was like, hey, I should start looking at how do I flip all this cash flow into equity.
Yeah, I like that. So a part that you left out, because I know your story, I'm going to reel it back. So before getting into real estate, Hailame was in door-to-door alarms, right? Mm-hmm. With Vivint. So Hailame's he rolls in like, oh yeah, I was just, started buying all this stuff. This dude's a closer. He's got a serious skill set. Number one being knowing how to close, but also he's just well-spoken and all the things that come with a good salesman. You have all those skill sets. But dude, the thing with because I'm a sales guy too. Yep. If you ask me at your core, what are you? I'm a deal maker and I'm a salesman, right? 100%. But like hitting the doors is different. Oh, so let's talk about that a little bit, bro. Because people, you're rolling into Airbnb and you're doing awesome. And in the last, 24 months, you've done what you've done. But I want to talk about the foundation of that. 100%. This show's build a lifestyle. And I'm always talking about like your daily disciplines and the lifestyle and showing up every day and what you're doing along the way and those skills. So how'd you get into slinging alarms? Let's talk about that because it's the foundation of your business, bro. Like
100%.
And that's why we connect, because we have we come from that same cloth,
Facts. 100%. And I think people, I'll start from the beginning. So my father is a physician. He's a doctor. And I thought when I was in college that's what I wanted to be. And so going through college, I was studying medicine. And with medicine, you can stack your credits and it looks really good to schools. Yeah. But to do that, it becomes really a huge weight on you to provide. And at the time I was married. And so I was like, hey, what job can I make a decent amount of income quickly in a short amount of time? Yeah. And that's when I got introduced to door-to-door sales, right?
So you were what, probably early 20s?
Yeah, this is like 22. 21, 22.
And you're 30 right now, right?
Yeah, 31 right now. And at that time I was like, hey, if I can just go, and it was just an opportunity to take a step in what I thought I wanted to do, which is be a physician. And I was like, look, if I can go and just make money and stack credits, this would be a good opportunity. So I went, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, right? And you develop, I feel like this is the best story I like to tell. There's very few jobs where you can learn a very specific skill set that translates into all facets of life. There's very few things, you learn a lot from, or I should put it this way, very few people can walk up to a home, knock on a door, guy comes out just totally irate. Just he's swinging, he hates you. And then 30 minutes later, you're walking out the house, cold Coke in hand, signed PSA, and he wants you to marry his daughter, right? What happens in that 30 minutes is dog skill sets that you only learn and develop through experience and through going out and experiencing the grind, right? Yeah. And that's what I learned in that first summer. That first summer, made $40,000 for 4 months. I was like, man, this is cool.
Dude, that's 10 grand a month, bro.
Exactly.
When you're 22, and that was 10 years ago. 10 grand a month actually was a lot of money.
Exactly. And so I made that money. I was like, cool. I still thought I wanted to be a doctor. Went out my next summer, which was my junior year, and I made 75 grand. And then for my senior year, coming up on my senior year, I went out that summer and made 100 grand. It was the first summer I made 100 grand. And that's when I was like, okay, what am I doing going to school? Because
well, with that too, because we're in Utah, so the culture, there's a lot of guys that go do the summer sales and stuff. But just to give clarity on what he's doing, he made that 40 grand, 75 grand, 100 grand, whatever it was in 4 months. I don't know if you guys caught that, but they go do summer sales. So a lot of these sales companies are based out of Utah. So, you know, when guys are going to school, like Lame was, he's going to school and then he's married, younger guy married. He needs to make some money. So for the summer, he's going out because you're not doing it home. Like you're going on the road and you're living with a bunch of dudes in a house. So where was the first year you went?
Houston.
Yeah. So this dude rolls out from Utah, goes to Houston, shows up, and you guys are just knocking, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day?
100%. It's a grind.
You just get dropped off in a neighborhood with a clipboard and it's like, you know, and a little name tag trying to look official and you got to go figure it out.
Exactly. And for that 10 hours, you either make money or you don't.
Yeah.
And the whole thing's commission based. There's zero guarantees, but there's a ton of opportunity. There's no glass ceiling. You control your own paycheck. And that was the first time I had experienced a capacity at which I controlled what I make. And like at the time, it was just serving a purpose of going to school. But then when I got to this point where I made 100 grand in 4 months, I was doing the math. I was like, if I go to medical school, by the time I go to medical school, another 4 years, like I'll be in debt, you know, $250,000. Like that's, if I just do the same over the next 4 months or 4 years, I'd make 400 grand. How does that make sense? Right. And so that's when I dropped out of school. That was the senior year. I still to this day have 12 credits that if I were to finish, I'd get my degree, but it's like, for what? Like, what's it going to do? It holds no weight in my life. And this skill set of sales has done everything for me. And that's where I cut my teeth. So I dropped out. I just sold full time, put all my eggs in that basket. Then around 2018 is when I bought my first investment property, and I was doing it in tandem. Had the sales job, was buying real estate in tandem, and then we kind of just built it from there. So.
Dude, I love that you were doing that because I think because when you're 22, 23 years old, you roll up on 100 G's. That's a lot of money if you haven't had money before. Or I mean, even if you have, like you go make 100 grand at 22 years old in 4 months. It shows a lot of financial discipline and literacy for you to have the thought process of, oh, hey, I should go buy real estate with this. And that's one of the things that I've watched you've raised so much money with all your deals. And that's one of the things that's really cool to watch because like, you know, all these guys that are, you know, in that space and they're 100%. Making all this money. They're young and they're kind of dumb and they don't have and I don't say that insulting, their lack of experience, not dumb, but so they're making money. So it's cool that, you know, you're able to be a seasoned veteran guy that comes from that space. And now a lot of these younger guys can look up to you slaying it in real estate, but you're also able to offer them an opportunity on the money that they're making by putting it into your deals.
100%. And it's crazy that like your journey of like developing these skills and these relationships all throughout my life, I had no idea that they would turn around to become extremely valuable when I started to jump into real estate full time. And it's like, it's crazy because like people always ask me, well, how long did Elk Ridge Management start? And I was like, well, this started 10 years ago. Yeah. That's really when it really started because I'm starting to now benefit from all of those summers of grinding. Yeah. Nobody was watching. Nobody knew me. Nobody was on social media, hit me up, asked me all these questions. But I was grinding and I was putting in the work to be able to get to a point now where like, you know, we bought 18 homes last month, 18 doors last month. That's crazy. Like I would have thought that was crazy back then, but like I put in the time and work, right? Like it took 10 years to do that.
Well, dude, it is crazy, but you and I both know that you're like, shit, I could have probably bought 30 or 40 if I was really working. If I was really out there. Exactly. If I wasn't getting comfortable being a baller, I'd have bought 40. I already know that's how you feel.
Facts. Only dogs know, baby.
I remember. But no, dude, I mean, and over those 10 years, you know, the thing is you get a little bit better a little bit better. The next door is a little bit better. Tomorrow you're a little bit better. Next week, next month, next summer, you know, next year, and you fast forward it. But when you just show up, that's why I talk about these daily disciplines all the time, and having focused with your framework that's going to get you where you're going. But I mean, like the ability to go cold, green, never hit a door before, all the way to what you said earlier, you know, guys all irate, get off my door, and you know, 30 minutes later you got a signed contract, cold Coke, and he wants you to marry his daughter. Dude, like that, I cut my teeth in sales on the phone, you know, and the phone's tough too if you're cold calling, but like door to door is a whole nother thing. I haven't done a whole lot of that, but it's just one thing that I like to talk about all the time is, you know, people don't want to start because they don't want to suck.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everybody just wants to, and then you have Instagram, this instant gratification world, and all these gurus and shit. And I think people have this misconception of like, you're just gonna roll into doing deals. And it's like, bro, it took me a year and 94 offers to get our first deal. Yeah. I'm a little slow, you know what I mean? But still, and so it's just that there's so much that goes to like everything you're talking about for the 10 years. And I really want to point on that, guys. It's like, you don't just show up. There's not an overnight success. It's a 10-year overnight success or a 20-year overnight success. So what else would you say has been valuable to you in, I mean, life, business, but also this transition and this recent success you're having? You know, like obviously you got the sales skills, you got the work ethic. Let's talk about relationships. Yeah.
No, and you're a huge proponent of that, and honestly, you've been a huge, like, someone that I've looked to as to like how good you are with relationships in terms of giving value and it coming back tenfold. I think you're one of the greatest examples in real estate, because I really believe that real estate is a byproduct of relationships. Yeah. Like people always think that real estate is about, you know, hard assets, passive income, this, that, but at its core, really, real estate is it's a business of people. It's a business of real estate or of relationships, right? And that's been huge for me. I mean, I've built my entire empire over the course of the last 2 years just off of that principle. Yeah. Like the way that I find deals, the way that I raise money for deals, the way that I close deals. It's crazy. My very first creative acquisition deal, which is really the strategy we implement now, this was the middle of last year. I found the deal from one of my best friend's mom. Okay. Yeah. I found a partner from a guy that I used to sell with door to door. And I found essentially the whole team that ended up closing the deal and helping me transact it through Stratton Brown. Yeah. And like what's crazy is in that deal, what I took from it was equity. I bought a property with none of my own money, and this property is cash flowing well right now. And I did that all through people. Like it was just through knowing a certain people. I found the deal, I funded the deal, I transacted the deal through people that I just knew, right? Yeah. And these were people that relationships that I had already provided enough value to them in whatever capacity, and they were just there waiting for me to ask for help, right? And so that's really the game of real estate is relationships at its core.
I would agree, dude. I mean, the game of really life and business in general is relationships. But, dude, I don't have a marketing budget, you know, and I would say probably the first 10 deals that I did all came from SLRIA, Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. Like the wholesale deal came from a guy I met there. The contractor I used, I met there. The hard money guy I met there. Yep. Christina, who's closed all of my deals at GT Title. Shout out to Christina for a decade, bro. Yeah, you just closed one with her. Like I met her there. She's literally done all of my deals if I get to choose, you know, from day one. My attorney, Jeff Brailio, I met there. Like literally everyone who was part of those deals came from that same group. And now fast forward, you know, 10, 11 years, I'm speaking at the group, and, you know, our lifestyle lending sponsors it and stuff. But relationships, man, I think it's the foundation and the core of everything, you know, like no matter if you're trying to do anything significant in life and business, there's people going to be involved.
100%.
And most of the time it's going to be people you don't know.
Yep. And that's what's crazy about it is like relationships are so valuable because you have no idea who you meet is actually the one person that has everything that you need to close that next deal. Yeah. It's like I can't tell you how many times we're coming up on a deal, investor falls out, I need somebody to replace that money. And it's like big numbers. It's multiple six figures. Yeah. And then I speak at an event and then I meet somebody there and they're like, hey, I'm looking, throw some money at. How much money you got? The exact amount that I need. Yeah. And it just happens. It really does. And it's funny because I always feel sometimes like, when is my luck going to run out? But I don't think it ever will if I continue to give value back to the relationships and to people, right?
Well, a couple things, dude. Like when it comes to luck, first and foremost, I don't know anybody that's successful that hasn't had luck on their side. But also, like, you can't get lucky if you're not in the game. I always like to talk about that. It's like if you can't get lucky if you're not showing up, right?
100%.
So the more that you show up, the higher your odds are of, quote, getting lucky. But I really just think it's you're in alignment, bro. Yeah. So it's like, I like to bring the spiritual and the energy side in too. And I know you're with that too. But it's like, if I'm showing up every day and I'm controlling all my controllables and I'm doing my daily disciplines and I'm showing up 100%, the best version of me every single day, doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, it's not a matter of if, bro. It's only when. Like, shit's gonna come together. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have ups and downs. But like, I strive every day to just like, am I being in alignment with the man I want to be? Yeah. And am I in alignment, and are my actions in alignment with like where it is I'm trying to go and what it is I'm trying to do? So, of course, naturally, dude, if you're being asked to speak on a stage, you're probably not getting paid for it. You're showing up, you're speaking, you're providing value, you're being an example. People are gonna see that, right?
Yep.
But then also when you're in alignment, like that's why you and I connect, it's like all the dudes that are in my circle, we all have the same core values. We value relationships. We value hard work. Yep. Like I'm going to cut my arm off before I ever burn anybody. You know what I mean? And it's when you get in alignment from an energetic standpoint, that's when your people are going to start flowing to you. And that's 100%. Why you're seeing success. That's why I'm seeing success. It's like, you do that over 10 years, 20 years, and that's why guys become millionaires and billionaires, because they've just done exactly what you're talking about.
Love it. That's exactly it, dude. It's exactly it. And what I liked what you said is like, when you start to really be in alignment and really start to be at this place where all cylinders are clicking, like you find people that speak your same language. Yeah. And it's like something you said, you said it to me a long time ago. It's like a few months ago, and I use it all the time now. It's like, we win with winners.
Yeah.
I just want to win with winners. And like that like cut to my soul, because I'm like, that's it. That's it. And you find those people, right? They gravitate toward you.
Yeah, man. And but part of that too is, you got to be a winner and showing up as a winner, but putting yourself in a room where winners are at. Let's talk about that, because it's one thing to have relationships and be meeting people when you're out there and about that, but it's a whole different thing to throw down, 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand and be part of a network or a group, or go to an event, or go to an event and buy a VIP ticket where you're, there's a price to entry.
Yep. And I love it too, because it's like, to your point, it's like coming back full circle to everything we're talking about. You got to show up and you got to win with winners. And, we'll talk about our deal, right? Like, you invested with me in a deal in Park City.
Yeah.
And that was just you. That's when you told me it. You were like, let's win with winners, right? Yeah. And I loved it, because I was like, man, Mike's a stud. And immediately I wanted to bring you value back. So what did I do? I showed you my buddy, right? Bought the American Fork House. You just represented me, and you were a dog in the negotiations for the duplex in Salt Lake. Yeah. And so it's like, it's just that winning with winners. And when you provide value, it always comes back from the right people, right? So
yeah, 100%. There's a couple of things I want to touch on there. Number one is when you're rolling with winners, or you're operating with people who are in alignment with you and your core values, and you're just around good people, a referral coming from someone like that carries so much more weight than, just trying to get something else. So like, just the contacts alone. So like, my network is expanded to your network, dude. Yeah. So everybody that's in your network, I have access to through you, because we're going to vouch for each other, whatever we need. But with the environment, like I wanted to talk specifically about putting yourself in an environment where winners are at. So investing in a mastermind or going to an event. Like, dude, I go to a lot of events, bro, and I think you probably out event my ass. But because you're going to all these events, like, why are you going? If someone were to just say, yo, Lame, I see you online all the time, like, always seems like you're at these events. Like, why? Why do you do that?
That's where deals are made. That's where the money's made. And like, there's just so many things that people can do to choose to spend their time. And typically at these events, like, you're meeting with people that are there to give, and that are there to like put their best foot forward. And those are the circles that you want to be in. Right. Yeah. And again, it all boils down to really one word: relationships. Yeah. That is where I find deals. Like, and it's funny because My wife is huge supporter. I love her to death. She's my rock. But like every time, like, you know, I have an event, and usually they're in the evening, it's family time, stuff like that. We just understand that, like, hey, this is actually, even though I'm not getting paid to go, this is what makes us money. It really is, like these events. And sometimes I pay to go, you know?
Yeah.
But it's funny because in the universe of what I would say winners, you just know that is where money is made, and relationships. And I can't even explain it other than value follows value given. Like you get value back when you go and give it, and everybody in these rooms understand it, right?
I like that.
So that's my mindset on it in terms of all these events. So
yeah, dude, people, I mean, people are at the center of everything. I had a thought, but it lost me there. So what point did you start like speaking? Cause you're speaking a lot now.
Yeah.
Like the last 12 months.
Yeah, really, it hasn't been long at all. That's what's been crazy, dude. Is like I feel like it has been like almost like a drastic hockey stick effect for my life, because like it's changed drastically. Like, and granted, I'm not big or anything like that, but locally, like people know who I am. Yeah, especially in real estate. And what's crazy is like 14 months ago, nobody knew who I was. I would even dare say 12 months ago. Like there's very few that knew who I was, right? And that has come from a lot of that same principle of just value follows value given. And like in every case, I just try to give value before I take it. And what's crazy is when you do that, and in my capacity, it's been Airbnb, it's been short-term rentals, it's been creative finance, right? And like what's crazy is like, and we've talked about this all the time, like when I'm up on these stages, I give my secrets away. I tell everybody exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Sad truth is 1 out of 10 people are going to actually do it.
And that's why I do the same thing when I'm speaking on what I do, you know, then that's why, it's because no one's going to do it. And that's the thing, like maybe 10%. And a lot of times if you're in a room, if it's just a general one, a lot of times, you know, maybe 10-20% of the room is actually doing stuff, you know. Exactly. So a lot of looky-loos or people who are trying to, and that's the, you know, the separator. But one thing you said is you give, you know, and dude, in this world, like when you're a giver and you give and you come from a place of truly building relationships, you can spot takers immediately.
100%.
Immediately. And
100%.
It's frustrating, bro, because like people don't respect your time. Like there's just, I don't know, like, and we talk about it, you know, but it's like, if you sit here and you're giving all this value and this, you know, person meets you and they hit you up and they think, oh, hey, you know, I want to take you to lunch this week. Like that's the worst, most offensive thing you can do is, hey, I want to take you to lunch and pick your brain. It's like, dude, you've spent 10 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars on yourself, and someone thinks that an $8 hamburger is worth an hour of your time, you know, and then they get like frustrated or whatever. You don't want to do it. But I struggle with it, dude, because 100%. Like there's so many fucking takers in this world. 100%. So it's like, you know, like I want to give, but I would like for you guys who are listening to this show, like if you're new or even if you're, you know, more seasoned than I and Lame are talking about it, like really check yourself on that. Am I a giver or am I showing up as more of a taker? Because anyone ever shows up as a taker in my space, dude, immediately, like I'm not taking your call. I'm like, I've already placed you into that person's a taker, and you can't fake that, you know? So 100%. Like guys, you genuinely, one of the books that I really love is The Go-Giver. Have you read that?
Yeah, no, years ago. It's been a long time.
I read the whole series. There's like 5 or 6 of them, but you can't fake this stuff that we're talking about, guys. You can't. I don't know why I feel so called to talk about this, probably because this is such a fake world we live in, but you can't fake relationships. You can't fake being interested in someone. You can't fake integrity and core values. Like you either have it and you're about it or you're not. And the more that, you know, you continue to grow and expand and level up and get into these circles, like that shit gets less and less forgiven. So if there's like one of the biggest lessons, if you take away from this today, is like be a true giver and like sincere about it. Cause I don't know, man, without that, like, that's just the whole foundation of relationships and trust in general, you know, but just don't be a taker.
100%. And to your point, it really is such a stench. Like if you are a taker, usually everybody knows that around you, and givers at the end of the day, like it's just, and that's why I like events for me personally, because I think it's a good platform to be able to give without over giving, right? Or expending myself, right? Because I love just standing up there and being able to just tell people, look, this is what I do, this is how I do it. And I just know that in that mindset and that principle of giving, it always comes back, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, dude, an abundant mindset is, it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to read it. Like, you know, you hear that for the first time when you hear like having an abundant mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's like, for me, the process has been like, okay, yeah, like I heard it and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That sounds good. But then implementing that to where you genuinely in your core and your mind and your energetic, like you believe that like abundance is a real thing, instead of like, I don't want to share my secrets, or I don't want to, you know, whatever it might be. Like that's a real skill set to learn, bro. Because for me, especially when, you know, like money gets bigger, more stuff gets involved, and there's a more emotional attachment to it. Like that is truly a mindset. And what's your thoughts on that, dude?
And I was just a big thought that just came to my mind is like, dude, I've also found too that the guys that are the dogs, they also understand that the secret sauce, it's not a strategy. It's not like information. It's you, right? Like we're not worried to give like what we do, because we know that nobody can do it like we do. Like, and that's like ultimately where I think a lot of the confidence of giving comes from, because we've just spent decades, hundreds of thousands of dollars on ourselves to develop into these beings that you can't replicate overnight. Like you can't build all these skills that I've developed in door to door for 7 years of doing it. Like that's something that you can't fake, right? And that you can't go and read about. Like, and so therefore, like whenever I'm at a table or whenever I'm at an event and I'm telling people what I do, like I just have full confidence. Like, you know, like I'm going to tell you what to do, but at the end of the day, like, you won't do it like me.
Or you probably won't even do it in general because this shit's hard. It's way harder than HGTV makes it look.
But I, you know, I also hope too, and I wish people the best, but I, you know, because every time I do tell somebody about a strategy or this, it's like, you know, a lot of people come back to me be like, that didn't work. It's like, no, it's not that didn't work. You didn't make it work. Like you're not at a point enough in your life, whether it's your skill set of sales, whether it's, you know, your comprehension of like the strategy or the numbers, like there's something that you got to improve on to be able to really go out there and execute. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I literally posted on Instagram today. My post was, me talking about how me and my brother, when we first started, we went driving for dollars, you know, and we would go every weekend, bro, like every weekend without fail, at least on Saturday. And we'd meet in the morning and we would, the night before we'd look up all the estate sales that are happening. So we look at every estate sale in Salt Lake County that's going on, and then we go hit those estate sales, dude. We never even done a deal yet, bro. Like we're maybe a couple deals, and we're showing up. It's an estate situation. You're like, yeah, what's up with the house? There's not a soft way to go in on that. It's like, I don't care about, you know, grandma's iron and shit back there. Like, we want to buy the house. What's going on with this? And then you know, start building relationships with the companies that run the estate sales. But we would do that, and then we would hit neighborhoods, bro. And we would just drive for dollars. So driving for dollars. Yeah, so like for those of you who don't know what driving for dollars is, that's basically where you get in the car and you drive around and you just look for homes that look distressed or that just don't look great. So we would do that, and then we got those like the larger sticky pads and the bright colored ones, bro. So we buy a 4-pack and it was like bright yellow, bright orange, bright pink, whatever. And we just ride on there. I'm interested in buying this home. We pay cash as is, no repairs, no fees, no realtors. Call me if you're interested. And we put hundreds of them out, dude, every Saturday, driving for hours, bro, just driving for dollars, hitting neighborhoods.
And most aren't willing to do that.
Yeah, dude. And that first year, we hit 3 wholesale deals, like 3 deals that we got specifically from that strategy. And we made 20 on one, 20 on one, and 10 on another one. So we made 50 grand driving for dollars. And we didn't even really know what we were doing. Yeah. We were going to Slaria, kind of learning what wholesaling was. So anyways, that was my post today that I talked about. But all these strategies work if you do. Yeah. It's like people talk about it because they work, dude. Like bandit signs work. Like when I started in real estate, well, not when I started, but like when I was probably a year and a half, 2 years in, just on the investing side, then I went over and I joined Chris Martindale's team as a buyer's agent at Century 21. And bro, like we'd have a morning sales meeting at like 7:30, some hoorah shit, a little bit of reading, journaling. And then by 8, we were on the phones from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday. And we were calling for sale by owners, expireds, canceleds, for rent by owners, just banging the phones cold call style.
Yeah.
And you would call. The rule was like till you had 25 contacts, like real conversations. You set 2 appointments, or you called till 11. That was what it was every day, bro, Monday through Friday. And it works. It's hard, but like it works. But in doing the work, here's another thing is like when you're doing the work, that's when you get better at it.
100%.
So like I'm good on the phones, or I remember the first time you called me and you had a lead and we went over to some lady's house in West Jordan or West Valley.
That's when the dog came out.
That's when Hailame didn't realize. So we go, Hailame's got this deal he's asked me about, and I'm like, I underwrite. I don't even remember if it's a deal or not, but I'm like, let's go talk to her. So he's been talking to her for like, I don't know, a few weeks or a month or whatever. And we go over and she was just not living in reality. So I don't know, just had the conversation with her, you know, and I remember leaving and you were laughing. You were like,
you were a dog, dude. That was literally when I was like, Mike's a dog.
Yeah.
He's a stud. He knows what he's doing. Like, it was good, dude. Because really, you just pinned her down. You pinned her down in terms of like, she kept talking in circles. Yeah. Then you controlled the conversation. You got her to a point and it was like, yes or no. Like, let's not waste our time here. And it was, and that's, like I said, that I was newer to flips. I had no idea what I was doing on flips. I still am newer to flips because I don't do them. But that's why I brought the big guns in. But yeah, it was funny.
Well, and in that conversation, dude, like, I mean, I would like to think I'm a closer, you know, so it was cool for me to be like, all right, he thinks I'm good. I know he's good because he's hit doors for a long time. So if he think I got game, it made me feel good. But no, in that conversation though, just to kind of talk about it, like there's the whole skill set, right? Of like the sales skills and being able to have the conversation and take it the way that we need it to go. And then also having the understanding of how to underwrite a deal. And then we were looking at different strategies. Hey, we could pay you this cash. I'm pretty sure we probably talked about seller finance with her. So you can learn all these different strategies and tools that help with these conversations with people. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure I was like, hey, you're better off listing it. You should just do that. If that's, if you're being honest with me and that's genuinely an option for you, I think you should do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, you know, I'm glad we're talking about it, but everything that we're talking about, like, you know, it's all the skill sets and all the stuff, but then it's also the core values and it's just coming from integrity, right? And I know maybe she called back or whatever it was, but we told her like, hey, you should go that other route. It's going to make you more money, be better for you and your family and your situation or whatever it might be. But yeah, I remember that, dude.
Yeah, no, it was dog, dude. That was, I forgot about that. I haven't thought about that for years, really. So it was funny, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I feel like the deals that I do with you. So Hailame just bought a duplex. How many properties were we under contract? I helped him on the financing, like the real estate side.
It was like 3 or 4, dude. Like,
yeah, it was like the wildest stuff. I would call this dude and almost be like embarrassed to tell him what's going on because I'm like, how the fuck is this happening?
How about the last was the best. Have to pick up keys in the yard in a bag.
Yeah, so we're on our 3rd deal that we're buying, and it's basically a for sale by owner, but she's listed with one of those flat rate like brokerages that'll put your house on the MLS for like $1,000 or whatever. But you got to deal with the homeowner directly. Like they're gonna write all their own contract. Like the whole thing was crazy. So, anyways. We go back and forth with this lady over the course of probably like a month. We had another deal and then we went back to her. But like I had to go pick up the contract. So like we send over the offer, all this stuff. And she literally put the whole offer, disclosures, all of the stuff in like a Smith's grocery sack in the backyard. So I had to go jump a fence because she didn't give me the right code, jump the fence, get the contracts and stuff. And the whole thing was just, it was like one of the craziest deals I've ever done.
That was a cracker. We got it done though.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
Oh yeah. So it was an incredible property. So fully furnished, ready to roll.
Yeah, man. But when we're going through that process and you tell me I'm a dog, like it's funny we talk about it, but it's like because I know you are, to hear that on me, it's like, oh, it feels good to like see the skill set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, dude. So that's that deal. I mean, you want to tell them about it?
Yeah. So that deal, what did they originally list for? Like,
yeah. So they came on market at like 950 or a million, something like that.
And we got it at 850.
840.
840. That's right. 840. Yeah. We got it at 840. Yeah, because that final negotiation.
Fully furnished.
And so fully furnished, ready to roll. Like it's
But this is an example. Sorry to cut in, dude. But this is an example of they literally. So this was a general contractor and her husband, and they had bought the property, renovated it, did a cool job. It's a badass little property. Not little. It's a good property, but poorly managed, didn't know how to deal with the city, and basically didn't know what they were doing. So we come in, we probably pay above market value for just a duplex. But because you have the skill set and the eyes to be able to look at it past of just a duplex and, you know, each side's going to rent for X amount or whatever it is, how most people would underwrite that deal, you're able to come in and take a deal off market or off the market at a great price, and it's going to be a banger of its cash flow 100%. For you.
And that's really where, because like, again, when we win with winners, everybody has their specific value propositions that they bring to the table. I wouldn't have gotten that deal without you. Like I wouldn't have gotten, I mean, we essentially got 110 grand in recessions. Like in price reduction, in closing, and that's your skill set of being able to like negotiate, have those conversations. And then obviously the deal's a good deal because of mine, right? And Airbnb and things of that nature. And again, this is just a product of what we've been saying of you win with winners. You give value to people and they give value right back. And we're both going to make money in this deal, right? And so...
Well, but what's cool about it and kind of, you know, like the point or where I was taking that is you took a property and are able to make it a deal and cash flow because you look at it differently or creatively or whatever, you know, whatever term you want to use. And that's an example of a deal that he just bought last month, not even 30 days ago, that was a loser for someone else. And he's going to what's it going to cash flow a month?
Oh, I think we'll cash flow a couple grand.
Yeah. So a couple grand a month, he's going to cash flow on this deal that someone else couldn't make work. And it's just because of the different skill sets and exit strategies that you have. So what else? I mean, we've talked a lot about foundation stuff, but let's give them a little bit of the sexy stuff, you know, like you bought 18 doors in the last month. Talk about a few of the deals, like how you found them, where they came from, why you got the deal, like, you know, a little bit of meat and potatoes.
So I'll dive in detail. So we bought a 10-plex, a 6-plex, and then a 4-plex. And
all multifamily stuff too.
Multifamily stuff, multifamily stuff. So 3 separate buildings, including the duplex. I count that in that. And the other 2 sets we bought creatively. The interest rates on both of them are 4 flat.
So talk about the 10-plex.
Okay, so the 10-plex. So we bought the 10-plex. This is a 10-plex that's out in the city that has pented up demand for Airbnb. And people, you wouldn't know this unless you know the market. Because when you look at it, there's really only a handful of listings there. But when you recognize, like when you look at those listings, you look at the numbers, you look at why people are coming, there's a huge opportunity there for short-term rentals. But we bought it creatively because the owners had bought it 3 years ago.
So real quick for the listeners, if you guys don't know what creatively, he's referring to like creative financing. So he's buying these properties, not getting loans from banks.
Correct.
And likely little to no of his actual money out of pocket, right? So like he's buying these properties creative, so there's no banks involved, no underwriting, no appraisals, none of that, no tax returns, and then also little of his own money. So let's just talk about the structure of a deal so we can give a little value here.
So the owners, the previous sellers, they bought this property 3-4 years ago. They had underlying debt in it that was at I think it was 3.5%. Is their interest rate on the underlying.
For reference, guys, today that same loan is probably 7.5%, 8%. So you're getting an interest rate at under half of what the market rate is today. We'll start there. Okay.
And so we approached them because it wasn't selling. It wasn't moving because of where interest rates are now. If somebody were to buy that today, they're stuck with this 7% interest rate, right? And so I approached them and said, hey, let's do this creatively. Why don't I take over the existing payments and then we wrap it? It's a wrap mortgage, meaning we pay a difference of whatever your underlying mortgage interest is, which is 3.5. I'll pay 4. So I'll essentially pay your underlying debt, and then the half gets to who that goes to. It goes to the seller. Right. We gave them a down payment of about 10%, which also is a win because if you're going to buy commercial, you have to put
20-25
exactly, right?
at least.
Exactly. And so we were able to buy this property not only at half of the interest rate of today's market, but also putting half down than you would normally.
Yeah.
And that's the game of creative. The numbers were so good on everything that we literally are making money at 60% occupancy. So on long-term rents. So if we just had 6 active, we would be making a little bit of money. Meaning that we had 4, and obviously it was already occupied 90%, but we were able to negotiate the deal in a way that like cash flow was there, and we have X factors with the Airbnbs. The way that I funded this property is through relationships. And so I was able to bring on a capital partner who owns half of the deal with me.
Okay.
He brought all of the money for the down payment, as well as the furnishing for we're gonna switch over 3 of them.
Okay.
So 3 of them are gonna be turned into short-term rental. And so
how much per unit are you to furnish something?
Usually it's around, depending on the size and scope of it, it's anywhere between 15 to 20 grand for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom.
Okay.
And then goes up from there.
Yeah.
And so again, relationships, right? Because this person brought all of the money, my capital partner, and I essentially own half of this deal where I just used sweat equity. I just knew how to negotiate the deal. I closed the deal. We got the money, and I'm setting up the deal in terms of I know how to Airbnb it. I have a design team in place. And so I bought this property with literally none of my own money, but I own half of it on incredible terms. It's going to cash flow great, all with sweat equity. Like if I had $0, I could have transacted that deal, right?
Yeah. And people talk about zero money down real estate. Oh, you can't do that. There's not deals in today's market. So like in today's market, this dude just got a 3.5% rate. Yep. Right now you'd be 7.5 to 8 on that same deal commercial.
Yep, well, 4, but yes.
Yeah. 4%. Oh yeah. 4% because you're paying them a spread. Only 10% down. This is none of your own money.
Correct.
And it's because you've got a skill set and relationships.
100%.
And people are probably asking, well, like, why would a seller do a deal like that? Well, they were on the market listed for quite some time.
120 days or more listed. They were on it, when I think I talked to them, they were on it 123 days.
Yeah, so they're on 123 days. If they bought it 3 or 4 years ago, and let's just assume they bought it traditionally, they probably put 20% down. So they've probably had the market come up a little bit, even with interest rates doing what they're doing. Anyone that bought 4 years ago is going to have equity today. Yep. So they were probably stoked to get 10% down because that's probably half of the equity they have in the property. Exactly. Let's say they probably have roughly 20-25% equity in the property. So they're going to half their money down. Yep. They're actually able to sell the property. They're able to get some cash in their pocket. They're going to have a smaller capital gains hit on the taxes, if depending on how they have it structured. Yep. So that's why someone would do that deal, guys.
For them,
yeah. So, but when Lame's out there in the market and he's looking at it, that's why we're not only identifying like, fix and flip distressed properties that don't look good. Like you're looking at people who are in situations just like that. So you have the skill set, or not even the skill set, just the knowledge of like, hey, we should look at properties that have been listed for a while. Yep. Right. And then just all the things that you're able to piece together, and then able to have a conversation where get someone to know you, like you, trust you. They're going to open up to you. And because you're able to build rapport with the sales skills that you've developed, now they trust you. You've been able to speak to them about, hey, this is how we can do it. This is why it would make sense for you. And that's how that deal comes together.
Yep. And it speaks to the principle too, again, and we've said this a few times, but good deals are not found, they're created.
Yeah.
And when you can develop yourself and get to a point where you have the capacity to create the deal, they're everywhere. There's deals everywhere. There's money everywhere.
Yeah.
Like people, it's so funny because you can get 5 different investors, and depending on where they're at, their strategy, their self-development, they all can look at the same deal and they're going to tell you, there's going to be a few that tell you, oh, this is a huge fat loss, I would never do it. And then there's going to be a few that make money, right? And that's where just the capacity of like developing yourself, learning how to create these deals, understanding strategy, and then going out and making stuff happen. So
yeah, dude, mindset too. But at the end of the day, you got to go out and make it happen.
100%.
A lot of times when I'm speaking, or I'm sure you see this when you're speaking, people, especially who are newer getting into the game, they're worried about their business card and their website and their LLC and basically all the shit you can do that you feel like you're working, but you're not really working.
Yeah.
So like get out there and just hit the streets, man, and there's deals. And the other thing too is money, like you've bought of all those units that you've bought, you probably don't have a whole lot of your own cash into them or minimal cash.
Yep.
That's another thing I think a lot of people get stuck on with real estate is, well, I don't have the money to do the deal. Yeah. And that's just like, I always say, like, a good deal, there's always money for a good 100%. Deal. Always.
The money follows a good deal.
Yeah.
And a good deal follows really the person's ability to be able to create it. So it all comes down to you just working on yourself, create the deal, money follows. So
bro, what's next for Elk Ridge Management? What's next for Hailame?
We're starting to jump into commercial. I'm looking into a handful of bigger units. I'd like to eventually own a hotel. But then we're starting to really expand our vertical. So I'm getting ready to potentially buy an HVAC company, things that like are connected to the Airbnb space that we make money on and we can grow as well. And then I got this will be my first official announcement, I guess, but I got a coaching course on the way. So
I like it.
Yeah, we're going to jump into that. So that'll be a good game.
I think that'll be good. With, so tell us a little bit about the coaching. What are you doing there?
So I think there's a huge opportunity, as I've mentioned, the deal I just structured, right? The deal I just said, I found that deal on the MLS, right? And I raised the money all within arm's reach. Like, I think there's a lot of people that have every resource and capacity to be able to actually do that deal, but they just don't know the know-how or they don't understand what the steps are. And that's what I'd like to essentially provide in terms of value is I want to teach people how to do what I do, literally.
Dude, I think, one of and I can speak from personal, really the last 10, 12 years of what I've been doing, but it's like, there's no shortcuts.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the shortcuts. And like the overnight success, the easy button, the whatever it is. And I would say there are no shortcuts, to make that clear. But if there were a shortcut, I would say it's coaching or mentoring.
100%.
A life coach, a business coach, whatever it is. But I've invested a lot of money over my career, and I would say that a large reason why I am where I am and have the network that I do is because of the coaching groups and the mentorship and just learning how to do stuff. Because, you've spent the last 5 years, 6 years really building your portfolio out. And well, actually, you've done the same thing, because I've asked you the same question, like, yo, dude, how are you scaling so much? And what was your answer?
Yeah, I learned from dogs.
Yeah, how much money have you spent with specific coaching and training, paying people to teach you to do exactly what they do, which is what you do now, except you just do it better?
In this year alone, 6 figures, over 6 figures, well over 6 figures. And so, and it's to your point, it's really just, again, sometimes being in these rooms of winning with winners, sometimes you got to pay to play. Like
a lot of times you got to pay the play.
Exactly.
As the room gets more exclusive or the people in it make more money or more successful, the ticket to entry gets a lot bigger too.
100%.
But with that, like, if value, but also if you're in a room and that guy spent 10 grand to be there like you did, then he's pretty serious about what he's doing, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of like you got to pay to play, but you're almost like buying your network too, because like I feel like that's a big separator, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people out there talking shit in front, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You and I joke about it all the time, guys sitting there bullshitting their numbers. It's like, you and I both know that didn't happen, bro. We all know that. Like, I can't even believe you made the marketing flyer, quite honestly, but whatever.
That's facts, dude. You can. Real players recognize real players, and you see them, and you know when they're not. You know, and so I love that, dude.
One of the things I was writing down on my phone there that I was trying to talk about earlier is operating.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to talk about, you make your money when you buy. And I think that's cute. Like, you make your money when you buy a good deal and stuff, but like, you keep your money and you make your money when you learn to operate.
100%.
And you're in a very intensive operations, like you're managing 140, 150 Airbnbs.
Yep.
You got people checking out at 10, people checking in at 3. There's not a whole lot of room for error there. So like, how have you built out your operations, or what would you speak to, in a little bit more in depth with like helping people understand how important operations are to any business really, but specifically what you're doing with Airbnb?
Yeah, honestly, the operations is what's made me my money, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of deals that I buy that, again, good deals, they're created, they're not found, right? There's a lot of deals that I buy because I'm the only one that could possibly actually make it cash flow. because of what I can do in the Airbnb space.
That's why they call it value add. You're adding your value, you know?
Exactly. And that came with 3 years of just, you know, and this is where I will say mentors were a very valuable role, especially in like dialing in operations and shortcutting all of, you know, my journey came with a lot of its fair share of like losses, but being able to learn and be in rooms. I went to Mexico in March with literally the top 10% of best operators in the entire nation. And like that is extremely valuable to be able to be in a room like that and take from people's what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and implement it in your business. And I can go on, but it's like, because it is very intensive. I mean, all the way from you have to have your management dialed when it comes to cleaning, maintenance, pricing dynamic, your SEO, like there's just a whole game to it.
Yeah.
And I think obviously I can't do it alone. You find people, you delegate. Like that's one thing that I will say that a lot of people operationally fail at, because they try and they try and take everything themselves. And like the best people that I know that are in operations typically aren't actually in the operations. They're just really good delegators and managers. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done. I have about 40 people that work for me. I have 2 core, like they're like my left and my right hands that work for me. And I've just delegated quite a bit. And we've just dialed some systems with mentors. So that's how we've done it. But yeah, to your point, like I always cringe when I hear that, like you make your money when you buy. And it's like, well, in my experience, I've made more money after I buy it.
No, dude, like operators, you know Andy Friseller, Eric Spot, any of these guys who run real businesses, and they'll tell you about operating, bro. Like that's real ballers and people who make real money. Exactly. Or have a business or an asset or enterprise value is because they have an operation. Mm-hmm. You know, operations and an operation, that's where enterprise value comes in, where you can actually sell your portfolio or your business. And that's really what I've been focused on. But it's impressive what you've done, and you do it all in-house. Yeah. Yep. I mean, 40 people working for you, right? Yeah. Plus your 2
that's hands. A combination designers, cleaners, because different than other management companies, a lot of times they'll outsource different things, right? Yeah. Because like what I found in our journey was when I started property managing, I had a lot of people that would come to me with a house that was long-term and they wanted to convert it. The number one question I got was like, well, do you know somebody that could design it? And that's when I was like, bingo, me. Right. Yeah. So I got a designer, built the design in-house. Same thing with the acquisition side, right? I had people that came to me like, where do I buy? You know, I want to get into Airbnb, but I don't want to manage it. It's like, oh, give me your money. I'll go buy it. Yeah. So we vertically integrated by just building out pieces that were all attached to the whole and just focusing in on those operationally. And really, again, the biggest key is delegation and just knowing your systems, creating one. So.
Well, and I mean, you've taken a piece of a lot of different people's system and kind of made it yours. And the only way to do that is trial and error and action and doing it. But it's cool because you control everything in your business, but you're also figured out a way to eliminate a lot of the costs or significantly reduce your costs. And then depending on, if it's your stuff or not, it's actually another business vertical as well. Like you're making money on that.
100%. And where most management companies are just making money on the management, we're making money on the design and the acquisition fees prior to that, right? And vice versa. Most investment companies, when they buy a property, they write a check to a property management company that manages it. For us, once we buy the property, we just hand it over to ourselves and we make the money there. So there's a lot of like value that comes from it. And that would be, I think, my niche as well, and where I went deep instead of wide was just, I was like, I want to own everything in short-term rentals, and we just went hella deep. And now we're even going deeper by buying an HVAC company. We're going to buy hopefully a furniture company, and these are all going to be ancillary services to the whole. So.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to stay primarily in Utah, or do you want to expand?
I love Utah. And it's a stable economy. Yeah. Like I think Utah, a lot of big money's coming here, as you know. Yep. They got that 5-star hotel at the new train station. They got Facebook's here. They just Texas Instruments just came out, dropped a bill for that tech center out there.
It's a couple B's, dude. Yeah, it's big what they're doing.
And then the MLB team. So I think Utah has a great economy that's on its way. Yeah. And so and that's why I'm excited for it, because like we're in the dip, and I'm still making money. Just wait until we're actually booming in the economy. Like we're going to Mexico, bro. So
We're gonna own some of it. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm stoked with everything that you and I are gonna be doing together. We're gonna have a meetup here probably in the next week or so.
Cool.
At my office. So keep an eye if you guys are listening to that. But walking away, man, I mean, really walking away from our conversation and just really what I'd like to point out, which is in alignment with me and what I'm always talking about with Build a Lifestyle. Dude, self-development, relationships, core values, doing the right thing, and winning with winners, but more than anything, taking action. I mean, dude, the amount of action that you've taken, and one thing that we didn't discuss, but like this guy walked away from you were making serious money at Vivint.
I was making, I mean, that year we were making multiple six figures, 300 grand, and but I walked, and it was a big risk, right? But I mean, this year we'll do 8 figures.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to leave where you are to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, go build a lifestyle. But before we let you go, where can people follow you or find you at?
Instagram, TikTok. My handle is my name and my last initial, so Hailamek, Hailame K, and holler at me. So
cool, bro. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. I appreciate all the love and support. As always, if you like the show, please leave me a review, share it with a friend, and if there's anything that I can assist you with, please reach out. I'm here to help. And until then, go build a lifestyle.